The air was thick, stifling, heavy with the promise of rain that never came. It mirrored the unease churning within me. A storm was brewing, but this one raged silently within the confines of my mind. The day had begun like any other. The monotonous rhythm of the clock ticking, the drone of traffic outside my window, the familiar scent of burnt toast and bitter coffee. But something felt different. An unsettling anticipation thrummed beneath the surface of my seemingly normal routine. The mundane tasks felt heavier, each tick of the clock louder, every breath I took sharper. I was a tightly wound spring, coiled so tight I was afraid I might snap. It all grated on my nerves, amplifying the tension that coiled tighter and tighter with uncertain fate. The voice, it was always there, a constant murmur in the background of my thoughts, never truly silent. It had been my constant companion for as long as I could remember, a shadow that followed me, a presence that never left. A low, insidious whisper, always there, lurking in the shadows of my mind. It was like a parasite, feeding off my fears and insecurities. It fed on my anger, my resentment, my darkest desires. Every negative emotion I had, it amplified, twisted and used against me. For years, I had managed to keep it at bay, to rationalize its whispers as mere thoughts, nothing more. I told myself it was just my imagination, a figment of my mind. But lately, its voice had grown stronger, more insistent. It was no longer a whisper, but a roar demanding to be heard. It chipped away at my sanity, tempting me with its promises of release, of retribution. It told me that I could find peace if I just listened. It spoke of injustice, of wrongs that needed to be righted. It painted a picture of a world where I could be the hero, the avenger. It whispered names, faces flashing before my eyes, faces that fueled the rage simmering within me. Faces of those who had hurt me, betrayed me. The faces of those who had wronged me, who had made me suffer. Each one a reminder of the pain I had endured. "Tonight's the night," the voice echoed. It was a command, a directive that I could no longer ignore. And tonight I would finally listen. I would give in to the voice inside my head and let it guide me to the justice it promised. The facade of normalcy crumbling under the weight of the impending storm. Then the phone rang. It was her. The sound pierced through the haze, sharp and jarring. My heart raced, a mix of dread and anticipation flooding my senses. Her voice, dripping with feigned concern, ignited a fire in my chest. Each word was like a spark, fueling the flames of my anger. I could feel the heat rising, my pulse quickening, my grip on the phone tightening, as if it were the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. The sound of her voice, the reminder of her betrayal, shattered the last vestiges of my control. It was like a dam breaking, a flood of emotions that I could no longer contain. The rage was overwhelming, consuming every rational thought, leaving only a primal urge to act. The voice in my head roared, no longer a whisper but a deafening scream. It was relentless, demanding action, feeding off my anger and despair. The anguish was unbearable, a cacophony of emotions that threatened to tear me apart from the inside. "Do it! Do it now!" The words echoed in my mind, a sinister chant that grew louder with each passing moment. My hand moved almost of its own accord, reaching for the object that would bring an end to this torment. There was no turning back now. The breaking point had been reached. Section 5. A blur of rage. The world dissolved into a maelstrom of fury. Every muscle in my body screamed for release, every thought consumed by a blinding rage. I don't remember leaving my apartment, the drive, the walk to her doorstep. It was all a blur. The only clear memory I have is the look on her face as she opened the door. Surprise quickly replaced by fear as she recognized the look in my eyes, the look of a man possessed. The rest, as they say, is a blur, a nightmarish haze of violence and despair. Section 6. The aftermath. Silence. Deafening, absolute silence. It pressed in on me, suffocating me more effectively than any scream ever could. The air, thick with the metallic scent of blood, clung to my skin, a constant reminder of the horror I had unleashed. My body trembled, a stark contrast to the chilling calmness that had settled over me. The voice in my head, finally satiated, had retreated to its dark corner, leaving me alone with the gruesome consequences of its whispers. Looking down at my blood-soaked hands, I felt a strange sense of detachment, as if they belonged to someone else, someone I didn't recognize. Section 7. the guilt that ate away at me like a cancer. Section 8. The Guilt and the Mask. Guilt. It was a constant companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere I went. It manifested in the tremor of my hands, the way I flinched at sudden noises, the nightmares that plagued my sleep. Yet I couldn't let it consume me. I had to survive, so I built a wall around myself, a mask of normalcy to hide the monster within. I played the part, the grieving friend, the concerned colleague, the helpful neighbour. I became an expert in deception, fooling everyone around me, even as I loathed myself more with each passing day. But the truth, like a festering wound, refused to be ignored. It seeped into every aspect of my existence, poisoning everything it touched. Section 9. The Confession. It's been years since that night, years spent trying to outrun the truth, to silence the screams that echoed in the silence of my thoughts. But some wounds refuse to heal, some demons refuse to be silenced. The guilt has become unbearable, a lead weight dragging me down into the abyss. I can no longer pretend to be someone I am not, to live with this monstrous secret. My name is John, and I am a murderer. This is my confession.